Thank you so much for everyone being here, and welcome back to the JMach Podcast, where our mission is to combat veteran and first responder suicide, one story, one conversation at a time, while reminding the community that they're not alone. We all have our struggles. JMach Podcast is sponsored by TRC. Total Roofing and Construction is an exterior contracting professional that specializes in residential and commercial roofing, siding, and windows. Today I got my Marine Corps brother-in-arms here on the mic, who is a Marine, a father, a mentor, and the voice behind Talkin Crazy Podcast, where he's creating real conversations about leadership, fatherhood, and the mindset. From growing up in Detroit to becoming a Marine Corps martial arts instructor trainer to raising the next generation while still serving, Demetrius Thigpen is the definition of resilience, purpose. Meech, brother, I am honored to have you here.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
My pleasure. So how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. I'm doing great.
So how are you really doing today?
So the doctor told me that I blew my knee out. So
Okay.
I actually got like a possible tear in like a meniscus and probably like an MCL. So aside from that piece right there, I'm doing good.
So did the corpsman give you ibuprofen and new socks?
No, they gave me a silver bullet.
Ooh,
Yeah.
okay. I knew you would like that. All right. For anybody who doesn't know, what's the silver bullet? That's not Coors Light?
So a silver bullet is essentially, is it a thermometer?
Yes.
I've never seen it. I've only felt what it is. You know what I mean? Like,
Okay.
it's, you get what I'm saying? Like, it's
So
not
you've
one of those.
experienced it?
That's beside the point. That's beside the point.
So silver bullet, when you fall out, if you're a heat casualty or anything, they stick a thermometer up the rear to get your core temperature. You know, that's the Marine Corps way of saying suck it up and keep pushing forward, or you're going to get the silver bullet. Now, I'm sorry to hear about your knee. Now we broke the ice with that awkward tension. Can you tell me a little bit about growing up in Detroit, what your childhood was like?
So growing up in Detroit, you know what's so weird about that is like, have you ever seen that movie 8 Mile?
Yeah.
All right, so I'm just gonna go ahead and get that out the way. We are not rap battling in Detroit. All right, that is not how we handle our disputes. That's not how we like solving problems. I come from a city that's like the crime is real, the drugs are real, the murder is 100% real. You know, my mom, she graduated at the top of her class. However, I was also raised in a single parent household. My father is a drug addict and alcoholic. So growing up in Detroit, Michigan, once again, mom's doing the best that she can. At the exact same time, she's also fighting the simple fact that my environment already has a plan for me. So I would spend a lot of times, like summers, Christmas breaks, vacations, at my grandmother's house. Being there is kind of what set the foundation of what I was going to be in life. But growing up in Detroit, to be honest with you, it was really all about survival.
So how, when you look back in your childhood, what do you remember most?
I remember addiction.
Okay.
Anytime that I ever really think about like Detroit, I always reverted back to like addiction. You know, my father like was a big pivotal point in my life when I saw him like drunk and everything like that. That really set the pain. That set the stage for me as far as like I want to leave. You know, I remember seeing like my classmates have these high expectations, end up working at the plant, end up selling drugs, end up dead, end up in jail. And I always knew that at some point I was going to leave.
So you said addiction is what you remember most. What avenue did that take on you as now an adult? Do you have an addictive personality where you fall into some of those same things, or did it lead you down the road that you're like against it?
To be honest with you, a little bit of both. You know what I mean? Like, do I have an addictive personality? Yes, 100%. You know, I gotta tread lightly too. You know, I really do, because of the simple fact that if I fall too deep into something, I'm stuck there. But I also know for a fact that because my father was one, his father was one, his father was one, I knew that eventually was gonna find me. And fun fact of the day, I actually was an alcoholic in the Marine Corps. Like a real, like struggling, like high functioning alcoholic.
It's contractual.
Yeah. Wait, what?
Once you sign that dotted line that you're enlisting, you become a contractual alcoholic.
Okay, yeah. And that was the crazy part. I was a top performer, but behind closed doors, I'm drinking on a regular basis. You know what I mean? Like, I remember one time I woke up and the neighbor's dogs were barking because I had fell asleep on the patio. I had passed out. Then I would turn around, go to work, leave Marines, and be a top performer there. But I was trash in my personal life.
So then at what point did your mindset of breaking cycles and becoming the leader you are today finally click in your mindset?
I honestly, I remember 2019. 2019. Top performer, once again, still, I'm a top performer. You know what I mean? Like, I'm a top performer, all right? I'm a force multiplier. There are Marines that legitimately have come up to me and said, like, you know, Sergeant Thigpen, like, I really want to be just like you. You know what I mean? And once again, every night, I'm still drinking. Every night, I'm still trying to be number one. And I remember when I came up short and I was number 2, and I did not handle that well. I remember I was drinking. I called a couple of friends. They came by. I'm talking about, I'm crying. You see what I'm saying? Because I just could not fathom the idea of me being number 2. Fun fact of the day, though, I'm upset about being number 2 in the Marine Corps. I'm a number 2 father. I'm a number 2 husband. I'm a number 2 person. Everything else was always just second. And that's when it clicked. I'm worried about the wrong things. And the moment that I realized that I was worried about the wrong things, it just seemed like everything else just started to fall into place for me.
It sounds like you were worried about the public eyes and the public opinion, right? So if you were so motivated and worried to be number 1 in the Marine Corps, but you came home to the family you created, you chose to be second because you put everybody else first. Where do you feel like that came from? Do you feel like you, as a child, did you always have to fight for the attention? So if you weren't number 1, you weren't going to get that attention?
I think it came from the simple fact that the Marine Corps is where I found out I was good. When you're growing up, my mom had 3 kids. She had my older brother, who was 15 years apart from me. She had me, and then she had my youngest sister, who is 18 months apart. You know what I mean? Crazy difference. You know, from 15 years apart, then 18 months apart. Crazy difference.
For sure.
But my older brother and my younger sister, great athletes, very popular. People knew who these people were. They had talents. Where me, I did. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't really have like a talent. I didn't have like a space. I didn't really have like a thing that I fit in. And I was always looking for an avenue to escape, especially living in Detroit. I always knew, like, I was like, well, this is never where I'm gonna be at. Joining the Marine Corps, I'm number 1. I'm good at what I do. I'm talking about, like, I'm good at being a leader. I'm good at my job. I'm good at motivating. I'm good at all of these things. So to me, it wasn't that I wanted to go home and be number 2 there. They were number 2 to me. And when I say they were number 2 to me, everything else mattered. Everything else that wasn't the Marines, that wasn't leading, that wasn't even in my forefront. That's what it really was. It wasn't that I came home and I put myself at number 2. They were already number 2 in my eyes from the very beginning.
Okay. Because it's almost like they're just there, so we take advantage of them always being there. We just expect our kids or our wife to always be there for us. But there's going to become a day where they're not. So I'm grateful that you were able to recognize that and started to become the better man and father, husband that you always have been capable and are worthy of being. So let's talk about that alley of escaping Detroit. How did that alley lead to the Marine Corps?
So, fun fact, I didn't even think that I would ever even end up in the military. I think I threw that idea when I was in high school to like my counselor, and she looked me dead in the face and she told me you wouldn't do well in the military. So it went up and it came right back down. Now, mind you, I used to live, you know, summer vacations, Christmas vacations, anytime we weren't in school, we was over at my grandmother's house. And we were there since I was a kid. I remember my grandmother when I was like 8 years old, she came up to me and she was like, Demetrius, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I was like, I think I want to open up my own restaurant. Because I love to cook. I watched her cook. I watched my mom cook. I knew that was something that I would love to do. She looked me dead in the face and she was like, oh, baby, they don't make a lot of money. I was like, what? She was like, yeah, try something else. So I'm like, all right, bet. 2 weeks later, she comes back up to me again. And she said, Demetrius, what do you want to be when you grow up? I'm like, well, I'm charismatic. I like to make people laugh. I like to laugh. Well, I want to be a comedian. She looked at me and she said, do you really want to be a joke for the rest of your life? I'm like, oh my God. Mind you, I'm 8 though. You see what I'm saying? Like, I'm 8. I'm like, oh my God. But right then and there, I really didn't have an idea of what I was going to be. And I remember being in like high school, and it was a breaking point when we were taking the ACTs. All of my classmates are excited about taking the ACTs. I don't even understand why this is so important because I don't have a plan to even be in college. I'm just around. And I remember when my name didn't even get called. My name and 2 other people's names didn't even get called. And they were crying, they were upset. Me, I just called my mom and said, like, yo, like, are you still in the parking lot? Like, can you come get me? Because my name ain't on the list. And that's exactly what it was. I didn't find the Marine Corps until a year after I actually graduated high school. I even tried college and dropped out of college. And I knew that I wanted to leave, but I didn't know exactly how to leave. And when I finally came across the Marine Corps, immediately I was like, okay, this is exactly what I would want to do.
Yeah, you did that a lot faster than I did. I went to community college for like 3 years and still don't have a degree, right? School was never for me. Reflecting back, I didn't like school. I went from being in a small town where my parents knew everything to going to a community college where they knew nothing unless I told them. So I skipped. I did everything I shouldn't have done. And then eventually at 23 led me to the Marine Corps, which by that time I was just considered an old man once I got in. So you were talking about, before you told me that the Marine Corps was survival for you. When did you realize that was going to become like a life-changing thing for you?
As far as like me staying in the Marine Corps now, 16 years?
Yeah, where it's no longer survival, you survived, and now you're thriving.
I would say the Marine Corps, it became more or less like it clicked for me. I want to say probably like Lance Corporal. Like I knew right then and there, once I started leading Marines, that I knew that eventually like this was something that I would be doing for a long period of time.
Do you feel like you love leading because you never had a leader growing up?
I think I love leading because I didn't have a leader when I was in the beginning. I got a chance to see it firsthand what it was like when a leader doesn't do their job. I've got a chance, excuse my French, but I got exposed to a shitbag Marine very early on in my contract. And I remember seeing that and saying to myself, well, this is what I would want to do, or this is the leader that I would want to be like. And I was fortunate enough to be able to find that and essentially become that type of Marine.
Okay. I want you to walk me through your experience in the Marine Corps so far. I have 2 questions. The first one, what is the most detrimental moment that comes to mind of your career so far?
Like the most detrimental?
Yeah, your hardest season in the Marine Corps.
Recovering from an NJP.
Okay. Walk me through, how'd you get that NJP?
So I got NJP back in 2013. It was for 2 counts of assault and 2 counts of, 1 count of drunken disorderly and then 1 count of communicating the threat. Once again, young and turned up. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I was young and turned back then. And obviously I just got into a fight. Got arrested, ended up going to jail. That was actually like my 3rd time going to jail in the Marine Corps. That was my 3rd time. And once again, I probably just ran. I was all out of chances. Finally, something is going to have to stick. And I ended up getting an NJP, got battalion level NJP'd. The battalion commander and the sergeant major looked at me and they said that you're still salvageable. My entire command had spoke on my behalf. They said he's actually a good Marine, all right? He just got caught up in some stuff. So they said that he's still salvageable. And they suspended the charges. I kept my rank, I did the EPD, and I went to them to my next unit. The hardest part about getting NJP'd is not the punishment. The punishment happens like this. You see what I'm saying? In fact, when you hear about it, you're dreading it all the way in. And then when it finally happens, it's almost like somebody like pulls a hair from a bump or pops a balloon. It's a relief. Afterwards, that's the hard part. Because now you want to be number 1. Now you want to be the best. Now you want to show everybody that you can bounce back. But the thing is that NJP sticks out like a black eye. So I would go on meritorious boards, beat everybody out, and they would still pick the guy that I just beat because he didn't have an NJP. I would reap this for, I want to say about like 3 years, to the point where it got to a point where I was like, you know what, why don't I just get out of the Marine Corps? Why don't I just walk away from this because I've already ruined my career? I even got tattoos that I knew for a fact that were against the regulation because I thought that I was already leaving. And that was the hardest part right there.
Is that what fueled your post today? That like a turd will be remembered longer than the best Marine will?
Oh, 100%. Like a lot of people don't know that is that like when you in the military, and to be honest, when you make a mistake, people will remember the mistake more than they will remember the achievement. You could build 100 bridges, but if you burn one, all of a sudden, now you're a bridge burner. And that's exactly what it was. I was good then. I was good after the NJP. But as soon as I would get on the board, all right, well, he has an NJP. You can go ahead and remove him. Or they would shake my hand. You did a good job. You beat everybody else, but we're going to pick that guy anyway. And I would say, why? It was like, well, he didn't get in trouble. You did. And I would constantly have to deal with that. So I had told everybody, I was like, it's actually harder to get away from being a shitbag. You literally have to wait. You have to let that wear itself off almost.
You have to let everybody forget it, or
Yes.
another shitbag comes up and takes the place.
You have to come across a
unfortunately.
bigger shitbag.
Yeah,
Yes.
for sure. Now, what is your proudest moment so far?
My proudest moment, it's so crazy that I don't really think of anything that I've ever really done like that. 'Cause
Well, I'll
it's
throw you a
always-
bone. You've told me previously that it was becoming a martial arts instructor, trainer as a corporal.
That was one of my proudest moments right there. And it was one of my proudest moments because of the simple fact that there wasn't any other corporals there. Let me phrase that, there weren't any other Marines, and I was the lowest ranked to ever do that.
Say it with your chest. Stop going quiet, dude. Be proud of yourself.
But
You were so hyped up about talking negative, but now I'm asking you to talk positive about yourself, and you curled up.
the weird
Open
thing,
back up, dude.
the weird thing about that is that a lot of my achievements, I always feel like I have to chase something else. So when I'm asked about, I can always tell you about what I did wrong. The problem is when I do something right, I've already went past it because I feel like I was supposed to do that right. I was supposed to already have taken care of that. So it felt more like a tasker than it did anything. But yes, being a martial arts instructor trainer was a proud moment. Writing a book for the first time, that was a proud moment. But I think the proudest moment that I've ever had is just being present for my kids.
I love that you circled it back there, because I was literally going to say, you and I, we need to hold each other accountable to start preaching about our positive and the growth and the success we have. Not just for us, but our kids need to see that. Our kids need to hear us talking prideful about ourselves. I'm assuming that part of the reason that NJP followed you for so long is because you allowed it to follow you for so long. Now, I know it's still going to follow you regardless. It's the military, NJPs, and that, right? But it's your mentality. But the great thing is you didn't allow that to break you as much as you may have think or thought you did, because look at you, you're still going, you're still achieving, and you're still successfully in the Marine Corps. So be proud of yourself, dude. I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
Because that's got to be hard. I could only imagine. One of my worst fears while being a Marine was getting NJP'd and becoming that person, right? Mm-hmm. Well, you took it on the chin and you stood back up. And it's what we're teaching our kids: fall down, get back up, even stronger. And that's exactly what you did. Have you gone back to that lifestyle?
No.
And before, you told me that you had a mentor to you, and he got out and he called you. Can you tell me that story again?
Kay.
Yeah.
Okay, so one thing about Kay, all right? Kay like a father to me, all right? Kay is like a father, like a brother. When I think about leadership, I will always think about Kay. So now, in the very beginning, I said I was exposed to shitbag, all right? I was exposed to what trash leadership looked like. And naturally, I'm coming from Detroit. My adjustment period in the Marine Corps was hard because of my upbringing. It's real hard for you to tell me about something, tell me that you're going to do something, or I need to do something, and I'm not about to press you about this. I'm not going to say anything to you about it. I didn't understand that that's exactly how the military is supposed to work. I'm, willing obedience to orders. I didn't understand that piece. I'm looking at peer to peer. But Kay, he was different because Kay had no reason to even talk to me. Kay had no business. We weren't in the same job. We weren't in the same section. Our offices just were so happened to be connected. That's it. But Kay would see me in transit all the time. And one day I was getting my ass chewed for something that I'm 100% sure that I deserved. You know what I mean? I ain't gonna shy away. I'm 100. I know how Lance Corporal Thigpen was. I know how PFC Thigpen operated. So Kay pulls me off to the side, and Kay says, "If you keep acting like this, they're gonna process you out." And he was 100% right. I was actually up for administrative separation in my earlier days for failure to adapt. And from that moment on, Kay literally, I'm talking about will pull me off to the side, just give me a little bit of game, and then I just start fine-tuning it to be exactly who I wanted to be. So I remember when Kay left and when he EAS'd, I remember crying. I'm talking about weeping, like as if somebody had died, because I felt like I would never come across a leader like that again. I never experience mentorship like that again. I'll never be able to do that. I never receive that type of love again. And when Kay left, I was just blown away. I was just really hurt.
Have you been able to find a mentor again, similar?
No. And honestly, I don't think I would ever even want anybody else after that. Like, I'm grateful for the mentorship that I do receive, but at the exact same time, I feel like at the same time, I would never want to replace somebody like Kay.
I think you already have. But instead of finding it outwards, you found it inwards, and now you became that leader, and you coach yourself the same way.
I see what you're saying.
Yes. Keep talking to yourself positively in the mirror, dude. We both got to work on that.
100%.
Right? But you're everything that you talked about Kay was, if not more. And now I've never met the man. I've only heard the story twice now, right? But still, everything you speak about that man or spoke about him, you're doing tenfold.
I appreciate that.
Do you appreciate yourself for it? Because you're the one doing the work, bro. Congratulate yourself. So I know you're not going to do it here. We do it on the car ride home, all right?
I appreciate that.
So you've been real about your struggles too, handling stress, bottling things up, and growing up with an absent father. What did those battles teach you, and how do you handle stress differently now?
I've learned to just be able to take a step back. One thing that I've learned a lot of, especially lately, everything ain't as complicated as I make it seem. I feel
100%.
like we overdo things. I feel like we overcomplicate things. I feel like when we're in the middle of things, it seems bigger than what it is. And then when you take a step back, you ever been in a situation and you like hindsight it, and it's just like, dang, that wasn't really that big of a deal. Or you like a lot more clear on how to operate in that. That's exactly how I try to like look at a lot of problems. If I'm faced with a situation where I can't react or I can't think on it, I always will pull myself out of it. And I ask myself, all right, let's dial this back. All right, let's get all this out. If you need to, go smoke, walk around, cool out, and readdress this problem, readdress this stressor, because I think that you're overcomplicating this, and it's not that deep.
For sure, dude. My therapist would always tell me that when you're in the middle of the forest, it's so hard to see the pathways out. But somebody from the outside, or you taking that step back, looking hindsight, you could see the paths out.
Yeah.
But you're just stuck in the forest. You can't see which step's the correct step. But once you're out of it, it was like, oh man, that was simple. That was easy.
Yeah, you
But
see
once
what I'm
you're,
saying?
yeah, 100%, dude. So what do you do now on top of that besides drinking? What have you replaced drinking with? That was your coping mechanism for a long time. What do you cope with now?
Now, I think what I do a lot more, I'll work out more. You know what I mean? I'll spend more time with my kids. Now, don't get me wrong, I still drink. You see what I'm saying? Like, I ain't never like not drink. Like, hey, we ain't take that off the table, okay? I'm just not an alcoholic anymore, all right? I'm just not drinking my problems away anymore, all right? But I'm still, like it's a Friday. You worked all day. You get where I'm going.
Sounds like
right?
denial and justification, but
I'm not,
once an alcoholic, always an alcoholic, brother.
I haven't woken up outside in years, you know what I mean? But I've also learned that instead of drinking your problem, why don't you address your problem? Why don't you write it out? Why don't you talk about it? But it also got to take into consideration that I also do a lot of podcasting, and I talk about my problems. And I think because I'm always talking about my problems, I'm able to address a lot of my problems now. And I feel like back then I wasn't. I was just, all right, cool, fine. I'll be all right. I'll be okay. No, that's not a big deal. Whatever. I didn't want to do it anyway. Like, I would handle it like that, but then drink it or have that conversation later on. Now I'm literally having a conversation with my problems on a regular basis.
That's interesting to me because on active duty, I feel like we have group therapy every day, whether we realize it or not, right? Now that you're on recruiting duty, you don't have that because you're not around your battalion or your unit or anything like that. You're on your own. How would you compare that group therapy of being around the boys versus you podcasting, but actually being open and honest?
The group therapy with the boys and podcasting?
Yeah, because it's both a form of therapy because you're talking about it. But when in my eyes, when we're with our boys back on active duty, we're joking more. We're telling those serious jokes, the ones that get us locked up if we tell a civilian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when I'm talking to somebody, like when I'm in the fleet, when I'm having a conversation with a friend, I'm able to bounce a lot of things off. You know what I mean? Like we're gonna have a conversation about what's going on. We can laugh about it. When I'm podcasting, I feel like the biggest difference between that is that there's nobody else. I'm literally having to have this conversation with myself. So I don't have the luxury to be able to bounce it back and forth between anybody. So the problem is still like, the problem and me are really having a conversation. I have to break this problem down versus being able to have somebody with me to be able to dissect that problem. I have to do a lot of it on my own.
So it's more self-reflective, and you're doing what I think that's called shadow work, but you're doing it with, that's crazy because you're a boxer too, right? So shadow work.
Shadow work,
Yep.
yeah.
The shadow work is like when you have those talks with yourself and you work on things and like you're your own shadow, you see what you're doing. Now you're doing that live so people can hear. So going along with that, tell us more about what you're building now between recruiting, podcasting, and fatherhood. What's your mission today?
A #1 podcast.
We can share that title, okay?
Like every single time, like when people ask me like what I want to do, I want to have a #1 podcast. I don't see it any other way no more. Like and there used to be a moment when I used to be ashamed of that, or I used to shy away from that, or I didn't want to say that out loud. But that wasn't fair to the dream. That wasn't fair to my own ambition. That wasn't fair. You know what I mean? Like, why am I downplaying this dream that constantly keeps me up at night? You know what I mean? Like, why am I downplaying the thing that I'm about to spend my entire Saturday doing or my entire Sunday doing? The thing that I'm working on is a #1 podcast. And the thing that I'm working on is a podcast that service members and other veterans can sit back and listen to and be like, damn, like, about time somebody said it. Because I remember when there was a space where I wish somebody would say something or wish somebody would talk about it. But all I got in return was, all right, guys, so today we're going to talk about boundaries, all right? If you're dealing with somebody who has a problem with your boundaries, you need to say something. I can't say that to my staff sergeant. You know what I mean? I can't say that to the guy that's about to do my fit rep. How do I address this, or how do I maneuver through it? And that's the biggest thing that I've been working on.
Dude, I appreciate you saying that too, because like I got called like a YouTuber or a podcaster the other day, and I like stopped. I didn't know how to take that, right? Because like I don't want that title, but I want to have the #1 podcast. Joe Rogan, who is going to be the JMach Podcast. You know what I mean? So I appreciate connecting with you on that level, that we both seen it that way. So what do you want people to walk away with when they listen to Talkin Crazy?
If anybody listens to the Talkin Crazy podcast, the one thing that I want you to walk away with is that feeling of, damn, I'm glad he said it. You know, that's the biggest piece right there. I don't want you to show up on the show and feel like I'm dancing around the subject either. All right, I don't want you to feel like there's a moment where it's like, dang, man, like he's talking about it, but I wish that he would just say it already. No, I want you to walk away with, you know what? I'm glad he finally said it. I'm glad somebody finally said it, because I'm sick of us not talking about the issues that continue to keep plaguing us on a regular basis. That's the biggest thing.
It's beautiful. And one thing that hits home for me is balance. So how are you balancing being a Marine, a present father, husband, and growing the #1 podcast?
To be honest with you, I allow everything to just work. Instead of trying to always separate everything, and I think that's a big thing that we tend to do, is that we try to like separate everything. Like you hear people talk about like separate your home and your work life from each other. That's impossible, all right? Like, and to try to separate your home and work life, you know, because if you have a bad day at work, I promise you that's coming with you at the house. You know what I mean? You can wait in your car as long as you want to. I promise you, as soon as you walk in, you still feeling it. And if you have a bad day at the house, I promise you that will go with you at work until you work it out, because it's all a part of you. So when I'm thinking about how do I balance being a father, being a Marine, working on a podcast, I put them all right there. And I allow them to balance themselves out. When I'm at work, I'm at work. And if my kids want to talk to me for a second, hey, give me a second real quick. I'm going to step away. You know, because I've learned the difference between what a rubber ball and a glass ball is. If it's important, then it's probably a glass ball. And if I drop it, it's going to break. But most of the stuff that I'm dealing with at work, that's a rubber ball. It's a basketball. I could probably dribble it, dunk it, throw it. I'm terrible at sports, so I don't even know why. I don't know why I even went that way. But it was a rubber ball. When I go home and I'm having a conversation with my kids, and I look down, I'm like this, oh shoot, it's time for me to podcast. I've learned to be able to like take that time, be present in that moment, and then switch over and go ahead and take care of what I need to take care of. I can't separate these things because these are things that I'm already talking about. What I dealt with at work, that's about to be on the podcast. What I just had a conversation with my kids, that's a conversation I'm probably gonna have at work because I gotta talk to people. And I just allowed them to be a synergy instead of trying to separate them or try to like find time for them, just synergize them.
That's something I definitely have to improve in on myself for sure, so I appreciate hearing that. And it's crazy that you say that like work's gonna come home with you and home's gonna go to work with you. Because when I build the sandbox, the location, the whole purpose of it's gonna be is so you can detox from work before you go home or home before you go to work. But it's gonna be a place to hang out that's not gonna have any substances. It's gonna be sober, it's gonna be alcohol free. There's gonna be a gym, TV, lounge, people there, fellow veterans and first responders, so you can separate that. So you don't have to go home and take it out on your wife and kids because you had a bad day at work, or take it out on your employees because your wife had a bad day in the morning, What advice would you give any other service member, first responder, veteran that's trying to walk your shoes? Not your shoes, their own version of it.
Understand the difference, and I said it earlier, understand the difference between a glass and a rubber ball. I heard somebody say this one time, and they said it in the most slickest way that I had ever heard it. He was on a call, he was briefing somebody, and he said, hold up. He said, ma'am, is this a rubber ball or a glass ball? And she was like, what do you mean by that? He was like, is this something that has to happen right now? And she was like, no, it actually could happen later. He said, all right, then I'll call you later and we'll take care of it. Rather than rush through it and you end up making mistakes or have to double back on it, he recognized that it was a rubber and a glass ball. And I would say to anybody that's a service member or a veteran, you got to recognize what is a rubber ball, what's a glass ball. Trust me, you're going to know exactly when you feel it or when it comes about, like, hey, this is a glass ball. Like, we got to take care of this right now, 100%. But then you also going to come across something that you know for a fact is a rubber ball, and you're going to be able to drop it. A good example, when I come home after a long day of convincing everybody else's kids to join the Marine Corps, all right? Like, for those who don't know, I'm a recruiter man. So after a long day of getting told no, that I'm terrible, I need to get a real job, even though this is my real job, you think that and I got to talk to my kids, and you think that when they telling me about their day, that's a glass ball? That's a rubber ball? No, that's a glass ball. I got to hear that right then and there. So tell me about what happened in the school. Did you ever talk to that girl about that situation? Okay, perfect. I'm still addressing it. When I go to work and I gotta have that conversation with my boss and he's telling me, hey, we need to get this person to be able to leave today. All right, we do. Okay, do we need that person or do we just need somebody to leave that day? I'm recognizing right then and there, that's a rubber ball. I know for a fact that if we drop it, it's gonna bounce. I know that. And that's one of the biggest things that I've learned, and that's something I would tell anybody.
It's a great analogy. I love that rubber ball, glass ball, because sometimes you feel like it's going to be a glass ball and you drop it and it bounces back and you're like, wait, what? Which is, I don't even know if this lines up, but it's what I want to tell you is I feel that way about my kids' love. Sometimes I feel like it's just a glass ball and I shattered it already. And then they call me dad or daddy. And I'm like, you still love me? Like, apparently I don't know what unconditional love is. And my kids are definitely helping me recognize that.
Oh, 100%. Like, my kids have definitely shown me what rubber situations actually look like, right? Especially when they break something and they looking at me like, hey, like, you gonna buy that again, right? I'm like this, no, that was glass that you just broke. You would never see that again. I'll never buy that again.
For sure. All right, well, Meech, Demetrius, this has been a powerful episode, brother. From Detroit to the Marine Corps to fatherhood, your story shows what it means to rise above, to lead, and to stay grounded in purpose. For anybody listening who wants to keep up with you, how can they contact you?
You can follow me on Instagram at Meech Speaks. Meech is spelled M-E-E-C-H. Meech Speaks on TikTok. Meech Speaks on YouTube. And then, obviously, if you get tired of seeing me talk in my car, I do have a podcast called the Talkin Crazy Podcast. It's available on all streaming platforms.
Thank you for sharing your story with me today, brother. If this episode hits you, share it with a veteran, first responder, or someone in your circle who needs to hear it. Subscribe, leave a review, and stay tuned for more real conversations. Again, thank you to Glow Frame Initiative for making this podcast possible. Before we close out, we want to give Another special thanks to Glowframe, because I just read it wrong. But seriously, Glowframe and everybody involved and everyone in the audience, thank you so much for taking your time out of your day to spend it with us at the JMach Podcast. Now we would like to call up everyone up here for up to 2 minutes to give a brief introduction about who you are and the organization you represent. 24/7, let's start with you. There's the microphone right there. Chris, is it on? Okay.
Hey, so Project 24/7 is a 501c3 for suicide prevention. In 2016, I lost 2 children to suicide, 2 of my sons. And as a result of that devastation, I started to struggle too. And it occurred to me through the process of my struggles that there was a disconnect between the thought, I need to talk to somebody, and getting that live person on the phone to talk to them. And over the years, talking to other nonprofits, working with colleagues, networking, the whole idea of Project 24/7 came to life. It's been a 3-year journey to build a cell phone app that bridges that gap between the thought and getting that live person on the phone. So you can find out more at project247.org. It's the word project, the number 24, the word 7 spelled out, .org. And we're in beta testing right now. We're about to go live on Android by the end of November. And October. We're still in October. Oh my God. We are on schedule. We're going to go live by the end of October with Android, and iPhone is going to follow shortly after. So thank you very much.
All right, thanks for having us. We're here to talk about, my name is Joel Kane, and this is
Chris Watts.
And we're here to talk about a really good initiative, a really dope initiative out of the Phoenix Center for the Arts. We have an event, not an event, we have a program called Canvas of Courage. The idea is expressive art therapy for veterans in their community, in our community. I did 4 years in the Army.
I did 21 this month,
Yes,
so
sir.
just retired, and
Congratulations.
it's a great feeling. It's also great to come back and help out the community here with Joe.
And so what we're doing is right now, we're doing weekly sessions every Wednesday from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. We have sessions at the center, and then we do things like painting, ceramics, clay rather, right? Also, we did improv last week. And then Chris is going to talk about something really exciting at the end of the year.
Yeah, so December 12th, which is a Friday, so we have an upcoming event, which is going to be our Veterans Ball. So we are welcoming all veterans, people who help veterans, to come out, enjoy, see the artwork that is done throughout the veteran community, and have a fun time.
That's right. And so again, it's Canvas of Courage, located at the Phoenix Center for the Arts. Really nice initiative. Feel free to be part of it. Thanks for having us.
I have a question. How do we find out about the ball?
PhoenixCenterForTheArts.org. Everything's on their website. Find the information there. We'll also be on Instagram. What I think is PCA, Canvas of Courage, on Instagram. Thank you for the plug.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Zala, you want to come up, brother?
Hey, I am JD from Zala Veteran-Owned LLC, DBA Zala Barbecue. Glad to be here. So I am a chef. I do a lot of catering as well as private chef. So I'm your chef that will come feed, whether it's, you're trying to have an intimate night with your wife or your husband, or you need me to feed a corporate event of 300 people. Like I said before, I am a veteran. I did 21 years in the Navy, so I know what the struggle is, and I know what the good food is, and I know what the bad food is. So I try to do every meal as is my last, just like I try to do every meal for whoever I'm feeding as is their last. So I like what I do. I'm passionate what I do, and it's fun to me. So if you ever need, some insight, or if you just trying to have a good night with your family and friends, whatever, give me a call. We can be reached on IG at Zala Barbecue, and as well as on Google. So look us up. Thank you.
Talkin Crazy? No, okay. Anybody else? Anybody else?
Oh, okay. How you guys doing? This is funny. Thank you all again for coming out. My name is Chris Grimsley. I am the owner and co-owner of Flawless Frequency. We're a PA company out of Arizona. I'm also the president here at Glow Frame Initiative. So I just want to let you guys know that everything that you see here, as far as the podcasting, as far as the audio, as far as any type of production that you need, Glow Frame Initiative is a place that you can come and get that done. Not only will you be supporting your business by having some amazing, amazing production, but you can also support our mission of employing veterans, employing some of our local community members after attending our workshops. So that's a kind of a double dip there. So it should be a full circle moment for each and every person, because everybody needs marketing. Video is essential. Audio is essential for continuing to grow your businesses, continuing to share your stories, even if it's not a business necessarily, but it's a story that you need told. We're here for you and here to help and here to kind of express and spread your story and spread the word out here. So Glow Frame Initiative, Flawless Frequency, we're here for you.
Awesome.
I just made that last part up. Oh, man. Look, I was trying to run from the camera. All right. Now I just forgot everything I said. All right. How's everybody doing? My name is Chris Grimsley. I am the co-owner of Flawless Frequency, and I serve as the president at Glow Frame Initiative. Flawless Frequency, we're a PA company, a sound and DJ lighting. At Glow Frame, we are a workforce development program where we provide everything that you see here. So we have the film, production, audio, writing, workforce development program. So every single business needs marketing, and that marketing, part of that marketing includes video and audio production. So Glow Frame, as within our workforces, our apprentices come in, they learn everything here. So when you hire Glow Frame, you're actually hiring the apprentices that have been coming through our workshops. This includes our local community members from age 16 to 24, as well as veterans. We have a very heavy veteran-led initiative here. So when you're working with us, you're working to employ some of our local community members and continuing that cycle of making sure that people have substantial gainful employment. So Glow Frame Initiative, from writing, creating, video cameras, focusing, lighting, stage production, everything under the sun that your business absolutely, positively needs. This is one of those places that you can do it. So thank you very much. And again, thank you for JMach Podcast, and thank you for Meech Speaks. Thank you guys for coming out and helping to support and spread awareness about veteran suicide. That's a huge, huge thing that that we have all, in some way, shape, or form, have faced in our lives. So it's really amazing that you guys are coming out and continue to have the conversations to stop and prevent veteran suicide. So thank you guys very much.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Hey there, hi there, ho there. Project 24/7 is a veterans and first responders and youth suicide prevention tool. Starting back in 2016, I lost 2 sons to suicide in less than 30 days. Through my struggles, I developed an idea, because when you're struggling, you know you need to reach out, but there's a lot of friction between the thought, I want to reach out, I want to talk to somebody, and getting that live person on the phone. So how do you bridge that gap? How do you get rid of that friction? So over the intervening years, through consulting with other people and working with professionals, it's been a long development process. 3 years now, we've been working on developing a cell phone app. It's an auto dialer that reaches out for you, not just to a hotline, but to people who know you, who are invested in you, people you trust. And if you'd like to learn more about this wonderful life-saving app that we've developed, you can go to project247.org. That's the word project, the number 24, the word 7 spelled out, .org, project247.org. And you can find out more about this life-saving cell phone app. Thank you.